Welcome, everybody. I'm Mike Schachter, president of the Carolina Nature Coalition. The Carolina Nature Coalition is a community organization based here in New Bern, North Carolina, whose mission is to raise public awareness of environmental issues and environmental justice issues by engaging citizens in meaningful community action. And I'd like to thank a few people. Definitely, I want to thank the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of New Bern for providing not only this venue that we're here, but providing the Zoom for the people who are on the internet there. And I want to thank Tom Shoup and Stephanie Jones, who are our technical people. Without them, none of this would be going, none of it. And I want to thank Melissa Schachter, who happens to be my wife, for bringing the food and setting up the coffee, without which I could not function. Okay, and I have to remind people that the Carolina Nature Coalition only exists through donations from people who come to our presentations. We do not have any corporate sponsors. The big oil companies will not sponsor us. So it's from donations, and there is a donation bowl over there by the food, and there's also a donation button online if you're on Zoom. So you can go to our website. You can also, we have t-shirts, men's and women's t-shirts, which, and that for a donation, you can get a t-shirt with, doesn't look like this one. This is an old one. It's actually a t-shirt. Now, I'm glad today is very special because we're going to hear about this scuba diving adventure in Cuba. All right. The illegal U.S. embargo has been hurting the Cuban people for a long time, especially now. And I'm glad that my friends, Penny and Mark Hooper, were able to visit that country. Now, Penny is, among many other things, a retired biology instructor from Carteret Community College. And she and her husband have been dive buddies since, well, 1971, when they met in graduate school at Catalina Island, offshore of Los Angeles. I actually know where that is. Wow. Mark has been the part-time diving safety officer for Johns Hopkins University, wow, for 25 years, and also the DSO at Duke University Marine Lab for 10 years. He's also done many other things also. Penny's master's degree from the University of Southern California, USC, I know that too, is in diving psychology. Physiology, I'm sorry. I should have tried. Of course it's physiology. Psychology would be good also. All right. And she and Mark shared the job at UHU for several years. They have continued to dive for fun and photography for the last 55 years. Congratulations. Mark has said his real job is commercial fishing, which he continues to do in Smyrna, North Carolina. I also know where that is, which is about 20 minutes east of Beaufort, at the Hooper Family Seafood, which catches blue crabs, sheds soft crabs, and grows clams and oysters in the pristine waters of the core sound. And now, my friends, Penny and Mark Hooper. Penny? So glad to meet you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that introduction. I appreciate it greatly. I think Mark's got me all set up here. It says, the title is Cuba, from Havana. There we go. Cuba, from Havana to the Garden of the Queen. And this, of course, is a central plaza in Havana. The Central Plaza, we're just going to take you we spent 4 days there, and that's really much more the feel of Cuba than underwater at the Garden of the Queen. So we're going to take you through a wee bit of what that looks like. So these plazas are open. You can see the Spanish-style architecture. It's beautiful. The central plazas have off to the sides streets, these brick paved streets where you can find little places to eat, cafes and things like that. It's very, very beautiful. We stayed in a motel up on the 5th floor and had this view of the skyline, and it's quite unique in that you will find brand new hotels and motels right side by side with falling down beautiful old antique buildings, and you just wonder, what's going to happen. Of course, when Obama opened up Cuba, a lot of people went in with high hopes for what the future was going to bring, and that has not materialized for them. So originally, the Port of Havana had around it a brick wall. This is one of the ramparts that's still left. It was settled 1600s on up, and they gradually built this wall and extended it for their protection. Now, I'm just going to give you a little quiz here. What do you think of when you think of Cuba? Just shout it out. What do you think of? The what? And old cars, okay, cigars. I got both of those in my presentation. Who's got another one I might have missed? Fidel Castro. Revolution. That happened in '59, yes, when Che Guevara took out Batista. And Bay of Pigs, yeah, we didn't get to either. Does anybody think of rum? Oh, yeah, rum. Okay, we'll talk a wee bit about rum. Let's go to the old cars first. They're so fun. Look at these. I'm just going to run through them quickly, but if you see one that you used to have, let me know and I'll stop, okay? They do not import any cars from America. They do get some from other places, but this looks kind of like the one my grandmother used to drive. But she didn't have a place to put her camping gear on top. And this is these old cars are right in front of a brand new motel, and they're just amazing. These you can rent as a taxi, and they'll take you around for a tour. Quite exciting. Anybody been to Cuba besides us? No? Oh, it's a fun place to go in terms of seeing those old vehicles. You just, and you see the little yellow thing in the back there? That's a taxi for one. So they'll take you wherever you want to go too. Yeah. This is one of my favorites. I had a 57 Chevy back in the day, and it was two-tone turquoise and white. But this lavender, I love it. I think it's so pretty. And they do paint them different colors, they really, it's an art to keep up a car like this. And under the hood is not the original parts, that's for sure. So they have them all around, and then still on the streets, you'll see this. You'll see the farmers coming or bringing in a horse to town. So the first thing you said when I said Cuba was old cars and cigars. They rhyme, huh? This is a cigar making factory. It's a very good job. You can see the leaves of tobacco are right in the center there, and that's the first part of it. You pick through the leaves and you define them into 7 different categories. So she's got 7 piles there, and the most expensive cigars are the best leaves. They start with the best leaves. And as you go through, you can see them rolling the cigars, and you can see women like this on the street smoking the cigars. As you wander around the streets, you see a lot of artwork, people trying to sell to any tourists anything they possibly can. And the elderly women smoking cigars is a popular subject. They like that a lot. So we actually had our picture taken and danced a little bit in the street with some of these ladies. And then you got to pay them $5. So we didn't do that again, but it was fun for a while. Yep. So I brought up the fact that you had to have a little bit of a knowledge about rum. And one of the nice things that our tour guide did for us was to take us on a trip where we went into a farming area where they farmed the spices and herbs that you would need for cooking, as well as a few of the vegetables. And then right next door, sounds very capitalistic, I know it, but seriously, right next door was the restaurant, and they had a situation where you could learn how to cook. So we learned some Cuban recipes and how to make a mojito. And so this is our crew learning and testing mojitos. So they all line up at the bar there. They took half of us in the back to do the cooking, and then we switched out, and the other half got to go back and cook, and we got to go drink. So they offer rum every place you go. I mean, it's just a little taste, maybe a shot glass, but their water's pretty safe, but yes, it tastes better. This was our chef in the back that was teaching us how to do basically a stir fry thing that tasted good. Nobody mentioned Cuban music, and it is very popular. The way that it works is wherever a group, like we had a dozen people in our tour guide group, wherever they congregate for meals or whatever they're doing, there's always a band that walks in the door afterwards and plays for tips. And that's one of the ways that they get their money, is to, first off, open a little restaurant, second off, have these musicians come in. And you can see, the traditional instruments that they're using here, maracas and all the acoustic information. If you happen to see somebody in this picture that they're encouraged to come up and play with you. I mean, they encourage you to come up and play with them. So Mark got the maracas that time. And it's moving, not just Cuban music, but they're moving into more jazz. And we went to a nightclub, very modern, and they had 5 saxophonists playing, and every E flat, alto, all the different kinds, tenor saxes, bass saxes. So that was fun. We enjoyed the music a lot. We enjoyed the people making the music a lot too. And again, this was a club. You had to pay a cover to get in, but everything else is just a voluntary tip situation. So the other thing that you might remember about Cuba is Hemingway, right? Hemingway had a house down there. We toured his house. We toured the area where he kept his boat. This is his boat, kind of an old-fashioned one, but he caught many a fish. Hemingway was a very big hunter and fisher person and stuffed everything he ever caught, I think. So this is his fighting chair off the back there. It's amazing that he did what he did without all the stuff that we have down in Morehead City now to catch a fish, right? So the last night, you're getting to the diving now. So the last night in town in Havana, our tour guide, who is Nikki Dunn. Do any of you know her in Beaufort? She does coastal life tours and a lot of diving tours. Anyways, Nikki had been to Cuba 3 other times, and she was responsible for hooking us up with 6 different old cars, some of the premier old cars, and taking us on this tour, sunset tour, around the waterfront, around that rampart that you saw a picture of earlier. And so we all got, we're divers. I mean, you don't carry fancy clothes. You're in your simple clothes. But we each had one dress. We were told to bring one dress just for this occasion. So here we are, all the girls lined up next to one of those fancy blue cars. And guess where we are? We are right in the Capitol building there. How come these pictures are there? Okay. Thank you. So this is the Capitol in Havana, and we're pulled up right. It's a center parking area in the street, and all of us are lined up, 6 cars lined up. Now this, I'll see if you know who these people are. That's Mark and Penny in our pink. Isn't that Cadillac sweet? Oh, and you can see behind the waterfront with the walled area and some of the ramparts, old buildings, and that's right in front of the Capitol. And of course, we went the waterfront, and people would honk at you, and then you'd have to honk back. I mean, it was quite rowdy, but we loved it. The women sat on the back, and they had a videographer going along with us and taking video as we went on down the street. It was so silly. And that was before the rum. I mean, after after that, they took us to a rum bar in a very, very fancy hotel, one of the older ones, one of the ones that was there when Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack were in Cuba. And it's a beautiful old structure, and they've kept it. And upstairs, they have a cigar room, and they bring you this delicious rum and teach you how to smoke a cigar. And it is a true art. And so, Mark and I have tried cigars before, so it wasn't any real big deal for us. I grew up with a father smoking cigars, so the smell smelled like home. So anyways, we went up there, and like I said, it was a true art to learn how to do it. And I remember the deal on a good cigar is that it has a long ash, and you can keep that ash, and you don't ever, tip it off. That's a no-no. And so I'm watching my ash, and I'm thinking, it's going to drop, it's going to drop, it's going to drop in this fancy place. And it did. And I apologized. This lovely lady came around, and I apologized. And she said, "Oh, no, don't apologize." She said, "Now you have made it okay. You're the first to do it. Now it's all right. Other people can do it too." The grace she gave me was beautiful. So, from here, we got up the next morning and got on this bus, just so you know that they do have big buses and, can get tourists around if they can get the tourists in there. Right now, they do not have sufficient airplane jet fuel to fill up jets coming in, so all air travel is gone. If you want to go to Cuba, you have to take a boat. And of course, you can't go. That's right. And you have to have fuel to get back. Yep. So they're in tough shape. They're in tough shape right at the moment. But we're going to go from here underwater. But because Mark's a commercial fisherman, we'll start with this slide here. Mark, up to you. Any questions about Havana before we leave the big city?
So how do you smoke a cigar?
Oh, you have to have a little bit of rum first, and that coats your mouth, and you hold your mouth in sort of an O when you exhale, like that, and you never inhale. Never inhale. You just take it into your mouth and you swish it around in your mouth, the smoke, and then you exhale it. Well, no, you don't really have to have that second sip of rum, but they will refill it if you run out. Any other questions?
So that the people online can hear the questions, can you, people wait until I bring the microphone around?
Oh, thanks, Michael. Thank you very much. Any other questions?
Question over here. No?
No? Let's go diving.
Thought I saw one.
Yes, thank you. So that bus trip was 6 hours from Havana, and we rode through the countryside, which was just beautiful, lush countryside of farms and trees and a nice highway. And we came to a port where there were 4 liveaboard boats. Our liveaboard held 40 passengers, which seems like a lot, but it was just a big floating hotel. We went on a 6-hour trip on the boat to get to the dive site. And basically, it was anchored up at a place with a lot of mangroves, and then from that boat, we worked on small tenders. Our group of 12 had one small boat with a captain and 2 dive masters, and we would have the same every day. And we would get up, have breakfast at 7 a.m. We'd be ready to dive at 7:30. Make the first dive. We do an hour surface interval. I'll show you where we do that. Make another dive, come back for lunch. We would take a nap every day. Start with a half hour in the sun and then a half hour in the bed, and then make a third dive. And we did that for 7 days. So it was a lot of diving. But it was relatively shallow. Well, we might have got down to 80 feet or so at some point. But let's see. Let's see what we noticed immediately was the abundance of fish. This is a marine protected area that Castro was a diver, and they set up a system to not exploit this resource. There is some recreational fishing, but it's all catch and release. There's no harvest of these fish, and it's also the country. I mean, this is 40 miles from the mainland. So people are not even going out there to try to poach anything because it's just too far, and they have excellent enforcement. So we were just enamored of if you know your fish, there's some white grunts at the top left, and then there's some blue striped grunts in the middle. So, but we would a lot of the times when we would do a dive, maybe the profile was down to 50 or 60 feet, but at 25 feet or so, you'd have these incredible assemblages of fish. These are yellowtail goatfish. And goatfish are kind of cool because they're bottom feeders. They've got little barbels, and they're really excavating through the sand to feed. But now they're up in a school on top of the reef. And I don't quite know how that all works. But Penny and I have done a lot of diving with the reef program where we census fish. It's modeled after the bird counts, and we go down with a slate and we identify the species we find, and we have an abundance scheme too. There's other fish in there, but there's literally thousands of fish, and these are good eating fish. They would be very attractive on the plate. It is a coral reef. It's hard bottom. Corals had been hit pretty hard through a number of things, bleaching from warm water. Down here, there's, in a lot of places, there's coastal development where you have runoff, and that's bad for the reef. this didn't happen here, and this is why these reefs are pretty darn healthy. And then there's a coral disease that's pretty recent. But the sea fans, there's good, a lot of that fan-shaped object on the left, right, I guess, right, are beautiful, in great shape. This is a French angelfish, and you can see the reef behind the fish on the right-hand side. No, left-hand side. What's that? To me, it's on the right hand. The live coral. Oh, good. Great. You can see the darker brown is live coral, and then the rest is dead coral. So, sometimes it's 15 to 20% dead coral, but the structure of the reef is still there. It is a coral forms a rock, and that forms an island. So it's going to be there, and it's interesting to dive some places where there used to be a massive elkhorn coral, and now it's just the skeleton of that coral, but in a still environment, and it's still habitat for the fish and stuff like that. This is a school of big eye jacks. We'll get a microphone here.
Just raise your hand.
Just asking if that was a natural die-off for elkhorn because of age, or is it something to do with pollution?
The elkhorn is one of the shallowest corals. We dove in Jamaica, and it would really break the surface. I think that's where the warmest water is. The other one was staghorn coral, massive amounts of that. They're doing some work now to try to grow corals and repopulate reefs and stuff, but it's a long process. And when I was at Duke, I had a diver that ended up going to Florida and working on the diseases. And they're treating individual coral heads with an antibiotic, which is impossible to scale up, but you're trying to keep stuff alive, so maybe it can, over time, develop a natural immunity. So, but this is just a nice pelagic picture of these big eye. These are nice fish. These are, yeah, probably 2 or 3 feet. These are French grunt, I believe, and again, massive schools of them. So, and this is our site of our we call it surface interval. We did a dive offshore, came into this beach, just kicked back a little bit, and they'd give you a cup of hot coffee, a snack. We'd spend an hour out. But there was a lot of iguanas on this beach, and a lot of these little rodents called agoutis. That they're the cutest thing ever. A little aggressive because they were used to divers feeding them, but it was cool. And also just hundreds of hermit crabs. And so there's just a lot of activity, which was kind of neat. So we would spend an hour there and get warmed up, and then we would get back to another dive. And this is fish is named Lola, probably the most famous fish in Cuba, who I think is 6 feet long, 300 pounds, and she's so used to divers that she just wants her belly rubbed. And this is our dive master, and they're just rubbing each other. But it was kind of this, yeah. When I was photographing, the fish swam by me, and I'm looking down this mouth, and I'm thinking, wow, this is, I could get swallowed up in this thing. But
Question here.
yes,
Mark?
Yes.
Could you please share with us what kind of fish that is?
that's a Goliath grouper.
It looked like a grouper, but I
Yes.
have never seen a grouper that big. Thank
Yes.
you.
Good name for it. We had a lot of, I didn't have many pictures of the grouper, but there's a really nice, healthy population, a lot of different species of grouper. And they're so highly prized, they're hard to find throughout the Caribbean just because they have been harvested. And one thing that you dive in Cuba for is to see sharks. These are reef sharks. They also have a silky shark. We mostly dove with reef sharks. And they would be, truthfully, the dive master, when he went down, would beat on his tank or make some noise so that the sharks knew we were in the water. And it's exciting. If this is a very natural picture. This is what happens when they take a container of fish scraps down in a lock gauge that he's going to trip, And right now, there's a dozen sharks, but when that gets tripped, then there's just this feeding frenzy, which is just, I don't personally like that, but people find it exciting, and it is exciting because you're surrounded by big sharks, 6 to 8 foot sharks going crazy. So, but I don't prefer that myself. This particular shark was chasing this barjack, and there was one point in time where the mouth was open, the fish was mostly inside the mouth, and I watched the fish swim out, and then again, and it was just fascinating. I don't know if, it was just cool, because they've got to eat something that's alive. They're not, not going to just eat boxes of fish from the kitchen. And this is, the white part on the right is the bottom of our dive boat. You can see some dark places. There's ladders sticking underneath that. So we're exiting the dive now with that much activity around us, but completely benign. But it's energetic, and they're big animals. And they would come quite close to you as well. So, but they're beautiful too. I mean, they are beautiful. And so after a day of diving, we'd go back to our boat and we'd get in a hot tub and we'd have dinner and drinks or whatever. And it was a pretty lively affair. There was you have your little boat that you dove with, but there's 2 other dive boats, and there was one group out of, I don't know what they were, but a whole family of just incredibly lively people from some foreign country that were dancing and playing music and most of the night, and then diving in the day. So it was good. But now, and as Penny says, this is us at the end of the day. So that's what I have. Okay. Okay, that's good. So any questions about the diving? Yeah, okay.
Who is your, wait a minute.
I've got one here.
Did y'all ever dive at night?
Yes, we have been diving at night. One of the best dive trips we made was down to Roatan, and our daughter got married, but she couldn't figure out how to take a honeymoon. So we said, okay, we'll do it for you. So we went to Roatan, and it was a week-long dive resort. We went to the dive shop to check in, and there were 130 divers there for the week. But they had 5 boats, and it was perfectly orchestrated. It was gorgeous. And a lot of diving was very close, just right out there on the ledge, this kind of stuff. We went back about 8 years later, went to check in at the dive shop, and we said, how many divers you have this year? And they say 2, you and your wife. So we had a dive master, a dive boat, a captain, and we dove so hard, and our dive master was a reef expert, for fish identification. And we dove, at about Thursday, he says, are you guys tired yet? No, we're not tired yet. So we just 3 dives a day, but as long as we go, we did a night dive for an hour and a half. We started with 3 lights, one of them done, then 2 lights, no problem, then 1 light, and the boat's right there. But it was the longest night dive he'd ever made in his career. So, but it was beautiful. I mean, octopus, stuff like that, there's a whole different realm of stuff going on, big crabs, stuff like that. So, yes, we've been night diving.
Who is your liveaboard operator, and where did you depart from?
It was Avalon, and it was a small bay in the southwest of southeast of Cuba.
How did you get to Cuba?
We flew from Miami,
Okay.
but we had to go through the process of being part of a group that they're allowed into. Our group was, we were actually doing marine science work and educational stuff with the Cuban people to people. There is access in that respect. It's just, you just have to go through a visa and things like that. but it wasn't difficult. And our dive organizer had been there a number of times, so she had so much scripted out for us to do. As soon as we landed, we're in a bus and we're starting to go. And every time we needed, it was beautifully organized with a lot of really cool things to do. Yes, any other questions? Yeah, yeah,
This is Cuba.
That's Cuba.
that's Cuba. It's a big island.
This is Cuba. You recognize that from all the hurricanes going in. And we started in Havana, La Habana, and went down this way into the archipelagos here. Oh, excuse me, down here.
It's on the screen, so they can see it.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Just hold it.
Yeah, there we go. All right, you point to where we went. I can't see it now.
Okay, hang on a second.
It doesn't look, oh, there we go.
Okay, down this way, right in here. Camera, yeah, that's it. And this right here, if you can see that, that is the mangrove kind of place of the reef. And yeah.
And it's all in Spanish.
Don't
Go this way.
Did we answer your question? Yes, another question.
Yeah, hi, I had a question. I'm not sure what the name of the fish that I don't know. It's I think a clownfish, or it's an invasive fish. Did you see any evidence of that? What? Lionfish, yes, thank you.
Yes. We saw very few, truthfully. And I don't know why that would be, actually, because there's some places that are very, very prevalent. And that whole story of that, invasive fish, it was released in Florida, and it actually came north to North Carolina, and then it worked its way back down throughout the Caribbean. It's fascinating in that respect, yes.
I guess one other quick question, if you don't mind.
No worries.
What was the sense of the culture of the community, of the people you met? Was there animosity towards Americans? Was it understanding? I'm just curious what they thought with this crazy embargo of the oil and all the other history. Thank you.
What we saw in the city was a tremendous amount of begging, and especially kids. It was tough to walk down the street and have 6 kids coming after you, but the whole system that they have in place, the whole communist system of providing food and shelter and things like that is breaking down because the government doesn't have the money. So it's almost like they get their housing and their education, but there's just not enough money. So they're allowing the people to do these little side ventures. Now, they are paid $20 a month, and they have a food allowance. Our guide for 3 days and our driver, we paid her $1,000. If you think about that, our dive master, we paid $1,000 for the week of work that he did with us, and that's his job. So there's anytime it could be in part of that, tourism industry, which is not just American. Other countries freely go and always have gone. And it's an incredibly beautiful place. Havana is. In the 40s and 50s, that was probably the coolest city in the world. A tropical paradise, beautiful hotels, all the entertainment from a USA down there. But it all stopped. And when Obama, opened it back up, there was high hopes to get money coming into the state. And tourism very important for those hustlers, the musicians and the stuff like that. I mean, what they've opened, you're allowed now with in your home to have a little shop. So they're they're on their porch selling bags of chips, and their neighbor's sitting on the porch selling a bag of chips. And it's not, that's maybe a great way to get started, but it's tough. But, I mean, the agriculture it seemed to be quite nice. It's green and good-looking fields and nice-looking cattle and stuff like that. And then you're gonna go to the chickens and the stuff in the cities, but there's also piles of trash on the corners too, so.
Yeah, I think in terms of the political situation, they really disliked Trump, and they really loved Obama. So, you know, that's which was kind of nice for us in terms of our political point of view. But anyway, I had the opportunity to go back in 2015 with a cultural experience that had to do with looking at the agrarian system after the oil embargo was in place, when they had to shift down from industrial agriculture to organic farming again, making their own fertilizer with the whole cycle of animals and vermiculture and everything else that they could possibly do to enrich their fields without petroleum products. And there was no begging in the streets of Havana. And there was this back to nature kind of movement, you know, where people were having small scale businesses and being allowed to do so by the government and getting capital from the government in terms of land and a piece of land that they could feed themselves. The first 2 years after the oil embargo, the average weight loss in Cuba was 30 pounds per person. They were starving. And they're pretty much back to that point again. And when Mark said that people could come in from other nations, well, that's true until you got the tariffs. And then, you know, they're considered, which is absurd, a terrorist state. And anybody that sends people to a terrorist state was slapped really hard with big tariffs. Yeah. So I don't know how it's going to end up. Yeah, it's tough. It's real tough. There you go, Mike. Thank you.
Well, being part of Indivisible and being a domestic terrorist, I don't have a real problem. How is it possible to get to Cuba without having to be part of an academic group? Do you have to go
It
through?
is not possible unless you go by boat.
I mean, can I go to Canada and then?
Yes,
Or,
yes.
or to Mexico and then?
Yeah. Yeah. Bahamas, and you could take a boat over from there. It's very close. Yeah.
Yeah, people travel to Cuba many different ways.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yeah. Other questions? Any divers in here besides Buster? Yeah? What's your favorite place to go?
Long time ago, diver, not today.
Ah,
In California.
Yeah.
Off down Baja, and that area. But it's been a long time.
once we figured out there was warm water, we didn't go back, you know? We made a lot of dives in California and Oregon, Washington. But boy, that when we got on the East Coast where you could get to the Caribbean easily, we gave that up.
We're scuba divers. We're scuba divers, but we were with divers in Saudi Arabia on the Red Sea.
Oh, I
And
really wanted to go
It
there.
was, I mean, it was amazing. It was National Geographic,
Yes.
colors, the fish. Randy would go by himself with pulling a tow float,
Mm-hmm.
you know, on his stomach with 3 floats holding him, you know, and because there were no lifeguards. I mean, you drown, there's
Yeah.
no one to call. It's, you know, it was Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. you know, and he would take me as far as I felt safe because it would drop off, you know, the
Sure,
ridge.
sure.
And it was scary. I was scared, but I would go as far as I could and, you know,
Good
with
for
him.
you.
But if you can go, you know, the Red Sea, they're trying to open to tourism. It is really worth it. I didn't feel safe there. We were there 2 years. I wouldn't go back personally, but I'm kind of a radical, you know, leftist, so I shouldn't go, but it is worth going if you can.
Yes, it's on my bucket list. I wanted to go there, a couple years ago, 2 years ago, and things just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And everybody said, "You're nuts, Penny." I said, "Well, I don't know how much longer I have left, you know? You gotta go when you can." And they said, "Well, you can't." So I didn't. But that's a wonderful experience you had. Yes, yeah. Yeah, I highly recommend it. They took good care of us. There's this thing that they do now called concierge diving, which means that you really can have a bad back or can have, you know, weight problems where you can't lift yourself up off the seat of the boat. And they get you up and they just set you on the side of the boat and they sort of do this and off you go, you know? We're going to turn 78 this year, and I think it's wonderful to have something that we could have done this many years. When we went to see the preacher, who didn't know us very well at all, and we got married in North Carolina, and he said, "Well, what do you like to do together? What do you do for fun?" And we said, "Well, we're scuba divers. We're each other's buddy." And he said, "I don't know much about that." Hillsborough, North Carolina, you know. He said, "I don't know much about that." He said, "But tell me more." And I said, "Well, you know," or both of us said, "you're responsible for each other's life under there. You have to have a buddy to make sure that if anything goes wrong, that person can take care of you." And he said, "Well, that's a great thing for life." He said, "You should be buddies for life." And we have been. Yes. Be married 53 years this year, so first, yes. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
I'm sure there's others that could beat that, but other questions? No? You might be interested in what you do with a degree from Diving Physiology. I went to work at a hyperbaric unit, and one that you will probably know, the one at Duke University, the hyperbaric unit. That's how we got to North Carolina from California, in our VW Bug with the dog hanging out the sunroof. Melissa would have loved it. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Thank you, Penny and Mark. That was wonderful.
Yeah.
Many more years of diving together.
A few more. Maybe the Red Sea.
I want to remind people that the Carolina Nature Coalition exists only by donations again. So if you're here, you can donate or online. And you saw this, scuba diving. Well, our next presentation for the Carolina Nature Coalition is going to be on the North Carolina rivers. We're having people from Sound Rivers talk about their river adventure. They did a paddle down, I think it's the Pamlico Tar River. I think it's 5 days. And they are going to do a presentation on their adventure down the river. And this will be March 25th. So, and if you've signed in, you will get a lot of information about it in the future. We're also going to have things in April. We're doing some things with Stewards of the Earth. They're doing a whole series on water. And then in April is Earth Day, and we will be part of Earth Day here in New Bern. So this is coming up, and you will get more information on that. So thank you all, and have a good evening.